Welcome back. Well, if you are a parent, you most certainly have experienced your fair share of temper tantrums.
What gets kids so upset in the first place? That's what I want to know. Dr. Rebecca Jackson from Brain Balance is here to help us understand what happens in the brain during a meltdown and how you can be better prepared. Hi, Doc. How are you?
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You know, I can't wait for the information, but I want to hear. So many people think, oh, if a child's having a meltdown, it's just a discipline issue, or the parents aren't doing something right. You really want us to focus on what's happening in the brain, right?
Absolutely. And meltdowns happen at every age, including for adults. They just look different at different ages. And when a meltdown happens, our brain goes from that logical part of the brain where we can think, we can reason, we can plan ahead and make good decisions. And during a meltdown, we drop down into a lower part of brain functioning where we're just surviving in the moment. So a meltdown is not the time to rationalize and have a big conversation with your child. It's just about getting them through that moment. And ideally, if you can watch and figure out what some of their triggers are, hopefully you can avoid that meltdown next time.
We have some of the signs and cues that things are beginning to escalate. Can we talk about some of them?
Yeah, and keeping in mind it's different for every person, right? But for some kids, you'll start to see them getting red or flushed. Other kids will start to get really hyper or agitated, running around, getting louder, noisier, bigger with their movements. Other kids will completely shut down. Think how you yourself feel as you're approaching that state of agitation or just losing your cool. And the kids can feel and act the same way. So watching for your child's consistent clues can help you try to circumvent that moment.
To circumvent it, you say we need to change the environment?
Absolutely. You know, once we get to that point of on the edge or even past that edge where you've lost control, we really want our child to be in a calm environment. So we want to get them out of that sensory overload experience. So maybe you're at the park, maybe you're at a play date, at the mall, the grocery store, wherever you are. You want to change the environment to something that's calm, quiet. And our natural instinct as parents is to talk over our kids. If they're yelling or crying, our instinct is to yell louder so they hear us. But that can actually trigger the meltdown to happen even more. We want to do the opposite, which is hard to do. We want to get calm. We want to get quiet. Whispering can actually really capture your child's attention because it's different from what they expect. And again, we want to be that calm, soothing, quiet, safe place for them.
So if I'm in a restaurant and my child starts to have a meltdown, should we just pack it in, the whole restaurant experience, or do we escort them outside and try to get a little time out and then bring them back in?
Yeah.
Or
That's exactly what I would do, Scott, is I would just quietly grab my child. In that moment, fewer words are better. When we're melting down and upset, we're not going to be processing as much information. And so as a parent, I'm not going to be having a long conversation with my child. I'm going to grab his hand or pick him up, depending on their size, and say, hey, come with me. Then maybe we're going to sit on a park bench outside for a little while to give time to just be calm, decompress, and then re-engage when the child's in a better place and ready to re-engage and behave.
And it's hard for parents to do too, because we got to notice when we're getting too agitated and hopefully act before we get to the stage where we lose it. But one thing that I think is so interesting is research has shown that if you move the body, or especially large muscle groups, that can actually help flip the brain.
It can, and that's at our disposal at all times, right? And so if you see your child starting to escalate, they're getting loud, they're getting agitated, again, that's the time, grab their hand, get them out of that overload environment, go for a walk, jump on a trampoline, stand and jump. Engaging the muscles really helps to engage different areas of the brain that can help us have better control over our mood and emotions and behavior. And as parents, there's such a great opportunity to model this awareness and behavior in your kids. So if you're starting to get aggravated, say, you know what, I'm starting to get really frustrated. I'm going to go for a quick walk and then we'll talk about this later. So modeling this behavior for your kids can help them learn as well.
Can you share a little light on brain balance as a whole and what is done there?
Absolutely. You know, Brain Balance is a program that works with kids that struggle with aspects of development. So often the behaviors are actually coming from how the brain's functioning. For many kids, they have areas of the brain that are immature, making some tasks more difficult for them, like paying attention, managing mood, emotions, or behaviors. So at Brain Balance, we're working to target and strengthen those areas of the brain so that the kids don't have to put as much energy and effort into paying attention and behaving.
As we learn more about the brain for kids. Do you think that helps parents? Because a lot of times I think the old school is you're misbehaving, we just need to punish you. Does that backfire on us?
The more we learn about the brain, knowledge is power, right? The more we can help our kids. And so often when parents or kids are struggling, it's not because of poor parenting or a child that's bad or naughty. We might have a 10-year-old whose brain is really functioning like that of a 7-year-old. But yet as parents, we're going to tend to have expectations for a 10-year-old. So understanding where some of these behaviors or challenges are coming from gives us an opportunity to address it, not just with coping strategies, but by actually changing the brain so that child is more set up for success. But always understanding what's going on can just be so helpful for both the child and the parent.
Well, you are a font of knowledge and you're very good on television. So we want to thank you for being with us.
Well, thanks, Scott. I enjoy being with you guys. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Thank you so much.
I know there are brain balance centers that people can look up here in Connecticut, so check it out if you think you need some help at home.